Our next honoree is Arthur Shay, class of 1943. Arthur Shay is a photographer and writer. He has photographed many presidents and major figures of the 20th century. Exhibitions and permanent collections of his 2 million photographs are in several museums and galleries. He has written newspaper columns, books, and plays. My pleasure to introduce Arthur Shay.
Now, I've listened to some of the speeches, and I know I've been limited to 2 hours, but...
You want me to hold it for you?
Okay. But I'm not a very good judge of time. But I'd hate to introduce a note of intellect into an audience like this. But I recall the time of mostly people ask me about celebrities and presidents. Did you ever talk to one? And so on. Aldous Huxley, the great British writer, told me while I was waiting to transport him back to Chicago from some godforsaken college, he told me a story that I never forgot, which was, he said, you know, I had a dear friend in London, and he was boasting to a small audience that when he was 10 years old, he met someone who had written a book, and that this changed his life completely. And he said, and by extension, it changed mine too. And I said, well, what did you say to him? And he says, well, I said to him, until I was 10 years old, I had not yet met anyone who hadn't written a book. Now, I speak to you as a person who has worked in books all my life, and I've produced more than 70 of all kinds, and I didn't spend that much time at Brooklyn College. I spent the year here before I became an Air Force flyer, and everything I learned about life, I really learned between these walls. And as a matter of fact, I mentioned the name Omar, the humor column. At one time, early on, I was the writer of this column for a weekly newspaper, and my nickname was Omar Schlassem for some reason. And the very first day I got to the campus, I saw a 3-year-old look-alike for young Molly over here, and she was the daughter of the bursar. So I interviewed her, and I asked her various questions about her reactions to Brooklyn College, and so that when 2 weeks later I appeared for the first day of class, I had a lead story in the Brooklyn College Vanguard, whose name I remember very well, and I realized that that athleticism is on the agenda. So I'll tell you about my relationship with the great ultimate coach, Ali Sherman. I was his rival for the 1942 freshman football team, and we both were able to kick a football within 2-3 yards of each other. And one day, we had several professional football players here working out for the coach, and one of these hulks, he was a real hulk, he must have weighed 210 pounds in those days. At any rate, he flexed his muscles. His name was Bulldog Turner, which was very forbidding going in. And he flexed his muscles, and he said, "Hey, you kids," he says, "come running right at me." And these two kids, Allie Sherman and Art Shay, were about 5'8", 7, and we came running as fast as we could over 10 yards, and then we ran into this metal stanchion. That's all I can do to describe it. And I knew in that moment that I was never going to be a professional football player. Anyway, many people at this point, my late wife used to say, she's been gone 3.5 years, she was a famous rare book dealer and a scholar, and she'd go like this. And I would make believe I was going to tell the story about sleeping with Elizabeth Taylor, but which would wake up my usual church or synagogue audience. It's a true story, and you could look it up if you have internet.
Tom's nephew was here.
What?
Tom's nephew,
Oh, yes.
nephew was here today.
Well, he knows the story. Anyway, we just shared 2 seats next to each other on an airplane, and I was documenting the great art of smell-o-vision. And anyway, people were always asking me what celebrities said, and they said, "Did you ever talk to JFK?" And I said, very urgently, I was covering the 1960 debate with somebody named Nixon, and Kennedy came over and kneeled to where I was changing film in 3 or 4 cameras, and he said, "You look like you know what's going on." He said, "Can you tell me where a fella can take a whiz around here?" So for the historical record, those were the only words I had with Kennedy. and I was preempted in answering his question by several Secret Service men who knew where a fella could take a whiz around there. Anyway, I treasure my moments, literally moments, at Brooklyn College, and they've meant a lot in my life, especially to my wife, who was in the class of 42, and so she was in a position to much more to utilize the knowledge that she picked up and the friendships that we made in the family. Anyway, thank you very much for this honor.